If you're looking for ideas to decorate the altar at the back of the church, whether it's on top of the altar or in front, or you're looking for ideas to create some aisle arrangements for a wedding or something to sit on the floor in front of the top table, then this is the video for you. Welcome back. You might already be able to tell that I've started today's design because the greening up process of this is quite long, but it's going to create a really natural parallel design that's going to sit beautifully at the back of the church on the altar, or it could be at the front of the altar, it could be placed on steps or down the aisle. It's really quite a versatile one to do. Now my mechanics are a block of floral foam. This style is hard to do without floral foam unless you've got a deep container. Now I've got one block of floral foam and it's been cut in half lengthways so that I have two long pieces to sit in this double sandwich tray or this double block tray. The reason that I've cut it in half is because I don't want all that bulky weight of the floral foam. It just means I've got more foam to cover, I need more greenery at the base, and it gives me quite a heavy structured bottom. And I want a design that's quite lightweight, quite delicate, pretty, quite natural, almost like a border would look if you were looking out into the garden. So think about a meadow, a very natural border where flowers are very casually growing up out of the ground. That's the design that I'm going for today. So the area that you're looking at now is the back. That isn't going to have any flowers in it at all because this is going to be up against a wall or it's going to be against a table. If you think about it sitting on top of the altar, you're not going to see any flowers there at the back. So I've just greened that up in preparation really for the start of today's video. And then I'm going to do the same across the front. So I've cut myself lots of small pieces of Pittosporum. This is a garden foliage. You can buy it from the florist supplies. This one has a slight variegated tone to it. I'm not sure of the variety itself, but it's a little bit of a lemony sort of colour to the base, which is going to blend nicely with some of my flowers. And I'm arranging this in a parallel style. Now this sometimes really confuses people because everybody assumes that parallel design is those very rigid straight lines that we learnt in the 1980s. But parallel arrangements have evolved since then and they can now be seen in a really wide range of styles. So don't feel that if you've got a flower arranging book from the 1980s and it's got a very modern parallel, because in the 80s they were modern, that style hadn't been seen before. But here we are, you know, it's many years have passed and parallel styles of arrangements have completely changed. And what I'm doing here with the outline is I'm placing them in a parallel line. So they're facing outwards. They're not radiating away from a centre point, which is generally what you see in top table arrangements or funeral tributes. And what I often forget to mention in these videos is that on the website, sharondower.com, I have a range of online courses. So if you want to explore floral design in greater detail, then these courses are standalone courses. You can participate in them at your own leisure and at your own pace. And the best offer on the website is that for £49 a month, you have access to all of the courses. You subscribe and you can dip in and out of whatever interests you. And you'll find those on the website. Right, so I've greened up the base, you're looking at the back, and I've left the top section of the foam completely free. That's because it makes it easier for me to put in those tall placements of flowers without sort of cluttering up the base. This is a great style of arrangement if you want to use candles, and I've got these fabulous sort of pastel tangerine sort of colour. And basically that shape, that parallel grouping of two candles is what I want to repeat all the way along. So we don't come out from the centre, we come across just like flowers would be if they pop up from the garden. I'm not using candles, that was just something that you might want to try at home. I'm going to start with a butterfly ranunculus, and these have their own personality. Their little heads are nodding forward with the weight of the bloom, and I'm going to leave them like that. I can't force that shape, that lovely flower, into a triangle. I can't force it to do something it doesn't want to do. So I'm going to arrange it in its natural form, and this is what we call vegetative. So that's how it would grow in the garden. That's how I'm going to arrange it. Might not be something that you like or you find particularly attractive, but we're not going to try and force that into a shape that it doesn't want to go. I am going to remove off that side shoot just to make this a little easier to manage. But I'm not doing that very formal pattern and that very formal line where we bring flowers down towards the focal point. Focal point today in this arrangement is more in this position here. If that was growing in the garden, it would be very natural. There wouldn't be any forced shape to it. We're going to enjoy it for its gorgeous natural shape, which is what we call vegetative. Right, now then, vegetative technically should be flowers from the same season. I'm going to confuse that slightly by introducing some daffodils. What I loved about the daffodils was it has a really pretty orange sort of centre, which is going to pick up on this sort of pinky orange colour that I've got here. Now what I'm not going to do is arrange these like regimented soldiers across the front of my foam. I'm going to cluster them together just like they would be if they popped up in the garden. Some of the heads facing to the left, some of the heads facing towards the right, but with the stems placed parallel to one another so that they're all naturally arranged. And I'm going to repeat that on this side here with 3 little flower heads. There are, I think, 2 different varieties of daffodils in this bunch, but that's okay. Only because I want one group to be more dominant than the other. So if we look at it from the back, there isn't really much interest from the back, but remember this is being pushed up against a wall, so I don't need to worry about facing anything backwards or making sure that there's something interesting for people to see at the back. So now I need something else to give me some height over on this side here. So I'm going to go this time with the Scabious, and this is where my vegetative, true vegetative rules don't sort of work, because in proper vegetative floral design, the flowers would all come from the same season, and I'm mixing up a few seasons here. But you know, hey ho, that's the style I like, and that's what I'm going to go with. So any greenery that's a bit untidy and scruffy, I'm removing off. But just like they would be in the garden, springing up from the ground, I'm placing them in that manner. Trying really to slightly alternate the heads so they're not finishing in that perfect line. And that gorgeous sort of red, burgundy sort of ruby red is a fabulous bright colour there on the end. Now I have a very different flower to come towards the middle, and what I need to be careful of with these is that I don't create a middle point to this arrangement, because in this style of arranging we don't have equal proportions on either side. So this is a tuberose, the Polyantha tuberose, and I'm going to place it slightly off centre so it's a bit closer to my cluster of daffodils, and I'm not then going to make the design perfectly symmetrical, because I don't want this middle section being a really dominant feature. Then to introduce some more weight to the bottom, because there isn't anything towards the base, and in this style of arranging it doesn't matter if you don't have any flowers at the bottom. But I do have the shorter stemmed marigolds. We might have seen these a couple of times recently, because I had them in for an order and I ordered in extra. But what I'm going to do here is slightly offset them again, so I haven't got that really obvious centre line. And I'm going to use these pretty little nodding heads of the calendula or the marigold. And I'm not going to force them into a shape they don't want to go. If they're drooping forward, that's how they're going to be in my arrangement. Now in my garden, if I grow marigolds, they cascade slightly over the wall. They don't like to go upright. I think the weight of the head tends to pull them forward. So that's how I'm going to use them in this arrangement here. Just slightly off centre there to the left hand side. Now instinctively at this stage, you want to come along here and fill in the base of the arrangement with flower heads. So naturally we would come here with lots of flowers and continue this flower down towards the bottom, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to cover that with some greenery and some moss. But before I finish it off, I'm going to add in some hellebores. And the sort of natural way of hellebores growing in the garden again is to cascade slightly. So I'm still putting them in with the stems are parallel, but the stems are facing forward this time rather than upwards. But it gives me that little cluster there of hellebores, just like they would be in the garden. And I have just a few left, which I'll bring over onto this side. I'm not going to balance it off perfectly. I'm going to offset them from the end. And I think I'm quite happy with the way that is. But I'm going to stand back and have a look at it, decide whether I want to add another flower group, and then I'll come back to you. What I've decided is it's visually a little heavy on that side. I'm going to introduce 2 little hyacinths over on this side here, because I'm thinking the introduction of the hellebores on the other side made it a bit visually heavy on that side. And because those hyacinths are quite soft stem, I'm going to make a hole in the foam first of all with the base of my knife. Can we see that there? So we can see that there, and then I can place the stem into that little hole that I've created without it damaging the flower head or the flower stem. So I'm going to do the same, cut that quite short, make myself a little hole in there, and then pop in that hyacinth. They're still arranged in a parallel way, but I've got what I hope looks like a very natural display of flowers from the garden. I need to finish off the back with some more greenery, but what I'm going to do here is just place some moss underneath so that I'm covering the floral foam. I'm bringing that very natural sort of garden appearance, although proper gardeners probably don't have moss in amongst their beautiful flowers, but it gives it that nice earthy, organic sort of look and introduces a bit of a different texture and a different colour to the base. I'll finish off the back off camera because it's just a case of filling in a few gaps. The marigolds are annoying me slightly because they are very noddy. So let's bring them a bit higher up at the back. Maybe that will look a bit better. They're very sort of heavy there on that front section. I'm just going to lift them up a bit. That's better. So I've lifted the heads up. Initially I wanted them draping forward, but they don't look quite right. So that's my a version of a vegetative parallel. It's not a perfect version. I'm going to run along the back there with some greenery just to hide the back. A beautiful sort of late spring, early summer floral design. It's quite easily achievable with flowers from the garden. So I hope you've enjoyed that one. As ever, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so that you will be told every time I upload a new video. If you haven't met me before, my name is Sharon. Welcome to my fabulous channel. Questions in the comment box. Tell me what you like or dislike about the arrangement, and I look forward to seeing you for the next tutorial. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.